All right, everyone. I think we should get started. My name is Julius Austin. I am the Sacramento Promise Zone coordinator for the Sacramento Promise Zone here in Sacramento, California. Our lead agency is the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. And I just want to welcome you to Relief Options, a conversation on resiliency and recovery. I am going to turn it over to our moderator, who is Colin Evanson with U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. He's one of the community liaisons for one of the promise zones. We have 22 promise zones across the country. And then he's going to introduce you to our awesome panel and get our presentation started. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Colin Evanson.
Yeah, thank you, Julius. As Julius said, I am Colin Evanson. I am a program analyst and the community liaison with the San Diego Promise Zone, but I work out of the Los Angeles field office. Today we have an awesome presentation on the business relief options. I know I'm excited to hear about all this. It's certainly kind of one of the key issues I think we're all working on and hearing about these days with the pandemic. So with that, kind of the one housekeeping thing, I'm sure you guys will not be surprised to hear this. Please mute yourselves. And I'm also able to go in and mute someone if they're not muted. But with that, I will kick it over to Lindsay.
Thank you, Colin, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us today for this discussion. My name is Lindsay Malici, and I'm an economic development specialist for the Small Business Administration in the Indiana District Office. And I'm here with some of my friends, some of our resource partners from Indiana, but all of our organizations exist nationwide. So no matter where you're at in the country, joining us today, this information can apply to you as well, even if you're outside of Indiana. So welcome. We're just going to go through a brief round of introductions so you can kind of know who you can expect to hear from today. Certainly the bulk of our presentation today is going to be more of a panel discussion focusing on the topic of resiliency and recovery. But first, we kind of want to let you know about our organizations and a little bit about where we're coming from. So we will give you an overview of our services. But to kick it off, a quick round of introductions. Like I said, my name is Lindsay Malici. I'm a Central Indiana native. I've been with SBA for going on 2 years, but I've worked in variety of different economic development and small business development capacities. I worked in export development for the state of Ohio and state of Indiana. I worked in local economic development, and right before I came to work at SBA, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Kosovo, where I worked on community development projects, and now very happy to be back in my home state helping small businesses and entrepreneurs. Next, I'd like to invite Nathan Yoakum with SCORE Mentors to give us his introduction. And Nathan, if you could just let us know a little bit about yourself and your role at SCORE, and then we'll get into the SCORE overview here
Absolutely.
shortly.
Well, thank you for having me. You know, my journey in the SCORE started about 9 years ago. I actually worked for the local library system for about 17 years. Was in charge of everything from our central location to our business section. When I was running the business department, I kind of got to know SCORE, and then we started working with the Small Business Development Center, our local chamber. And so I've kind of moved on from there. I also work with a lot of local nonprofits and doing volunteer work. But right now I'm working at Aurora Incorporated, which as their grants and development officer, we do a lot of work on housing the homeless. As you can imagine, the eviction and utilities moratoriums are our big thing right now, and we're just trying to keep people housed and keep people paying their bills. So it's been a really busy time for me. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and I'm still taking clients to help them with their businesses through SCORE. So, and it's all completely volunteer on our parts. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Nathan. Morgan?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Morgan Allen, and I am the Small Business Program Administrator for the Indiana Small Business Development Center, or the SBDC. We will get into what that means a little bit later, but a little bit about me. I joined the team just under a year ago, so still relatively new to the Small Business Development Center, but I joined the team coming from municipal government. So I have the public service bug like many on the call today, and really happy to be here today.
Thank you so much, Morgan. Jim, are you there?
I'm here. I have an indication of unstable Wi-Fi, so if it breaks up, it's me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Jim Haddon. I'm a procurement specialist for Indiana PTAC. There are PTACs in every state. Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. We help small businesses who want to do government contracting. There are 93 PTACs throughout the country. So if I am relating PTAC information for Indiana, it applies to every state, specific to promise zones, opportunity zones, hub zones, those types of low mod income areas. We help with certifications, minority business, women business, veteran business certifications that helps the small business person get their leg up. So happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Jim. Okay, I'm going to try to share. So Colin, I don't see, and Julius, I don't see the file I'm trying to open for Nathan.
All right,
Can I share my screen instead of a file?
Yeah, so what you want to do is open up the file first.
Yep, it's open. Yeah, I've got a few different PDFs. Oh, okay, maybe
Right,
that'll.
and after the file is open,
There it
then
is.
you click share screen.
All right.
All right, thank you, Lindsay.
There you go, Nathan.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. I'm not really big into PowerPoint and slides, so this is my only slide, and it took a lot for me to create this. Being a librarian all these years, I remember one book that always crossed my path that said real leaders don't use PowerPoint, so I just kind of took that one to heart. But I don't know if a lot of people know about SCORE. With a lot of the organizations that are represented here today, you know, people are they're familiar with the SBA and PTAC and their small business development centers, but SCORE has been around for over 50 years. You know, our mission is to foster vibrant small business communities through mentoring and education. And, you know, our vision is every person has the support necessary to thrive as a small business owner. I think, you know, since, you know, before even the pandemic hit, you know, we had a lot of people that, you know, they come to us and they have ideas and they want to start a small business. And it's just a matter of, you know, working with them. And we have an all volunteer organization that we have specialists in certain areas. Mine happens to be more like public relations and marketing, e-commerce, doing things via the web. As you can imagine, SCORE kind of has a reputation of a lot of retired business people, and which we do have a lot of those, but we also have a lot of working people. But all of them lend their expertise in one way or another. So like if I bring somebody in and I don't know all the questions, I'll bring another co-mentor in who's had more experience than me. And then we also have a great relationship with the Small Business Development Center. So we share a lot of our clients. So like, let's say somebody comes to the ISBDC and they have a particular question or a particular subject matter that they're not familiar with, and they might contact SCORE and we'll work together to give them the best information possible. But one thing I can tell you is that since the pandemic's hit, and actually right before, I actually have a great success story. I was working with a client, probably for about a year, and she, her dream was to start a yarn shop, and she lives in a small town in Indiana, and she did everything she could, and she had it all built up, and I swear she opened her doors about a week before all this stuff hit. And she kind of moved a lot of her stuff online, and she's still thriving, and she's still in business, and I'm so very proud of her. And I talk to her all the time. I have other clients that they just need advice. There was one client in Southern Illinois, and I handle clients kind of all in Southern Illinois, Southern Indiana, all the way to mid Kentucky. I've had clients just come to me after all this stuff happened. One in particular, that she ran a prom dress business, and so as you can imagine, she ordered all her prom dresses in January, and she was a little bit discombobulated, to say the least. What's she going to do? And so I worked with her about getting the PPP loan, or the looking at the SBA options, and just trying to talk to her, and just have somebody to talk to. And I've done that on multiple occasions. A lot of our clients, especially returning clients, they just need somebody to talk to, and how to navigate through this world, or maybe change some things. And I have one successful client right now who is she has a great business. She's thriving right now. She did a lot of craft shows before, but she's taken a lot of her business online, and so she's been selling a lot of stuff online. And she always asks me about am I charging too much, or am I not charging enough? And it's like I love working with our clients, though, and everybody's different. It was really cool because SCORE is nationwide. So if anybody's interested in SCORE, they can go to www.score.org, or you can just Google SCORE and then your local area, and I'm sure that there's a SCORE office in your area across the United States. I don't have that exact number, but I know there are hundreds of them, and they can help you and get you set up, and they'll assign a mentor to you and work with you. It's all confidential, and we're there for you as long as you need it. We just like, for me, it's all volunteer, but just to hear people on the other side like say thank you for being there, or thank you for walking me through this, whether it be through a business plan or some marketing things they didn't think of, or I had somebody that wanted to start a business in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm like, well, maybe you might want to wait a little bit on like that, but just talk through things. Of course, on the other hand, I got randomly assigned a person who wanted to start an online cooking business out of San Francisco, and I'm not exactly sure how I got assigned that client, and I was a little intimidated. But my girlfriend, she actually moved her entire yoga business online, and she's doing her classes that way. It was through Zoom. Now she's using a different platform, and through her knowledge, I was able to help educate him on some of the things he could do to move his cooking classes online. So I think that as everything's changed within the last 6-7 months, SCORE's changed as well. We do a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of phone calls. I'm still not meeting people in person just because it's just not safe, and we kind of have a hotspot area where we're at. But we're still there, and we're still there for people to talk to. And even my job at Aurora, we went through the process, the SBA process. We got the PPP loan, and I helped with that. So it's like it's a little bit of everything. But SCORE really is the boots on the ground. They are the people that kind of have the specialized knowledge. So if anybody has any questions, whether you're an existing business and you're hurting, or you're thinking about starting a business up, or you just have an idea, contact SCORE. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't take up, it just takes up your time, but it's also very educational, and you can learn a lot. And some of the best advice I've given someone is, do you really think this is a good idea? But then on the other hand, I've had a lot of really great success stories. So that's a little bit about SCORE. Like I said, I can't recommended enough, and a lot of people don't realize we're there. We're funded through Congress, and you know, we're there to help businesses in any way possible. I think that's about all I have to say about SCORE.
Thank you, Nathan. While Morgan is queuing up her presentation, Morgan, if you want to start sharing that. Nathan, I did want to ask you, because you mentioned the retired image that people think of when they think of SCORE, and it used to stand for Service Corps of Retired Executives.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, that is true.
But you don't actually use that acronym anymore. Clearly, you're not I mean, you could be a young millionaire who is retired and does this on his free time, but it's changed a lot.
It has. And I've worked in nonprofits my entire life, so I am not a millionaire by far. But no, it has changed. And that actually has been, it's been a good thing and a bad thing. One of the good things is we have a lot of people that have more knowledge, but we also have more working people. So it's more of a time constraint thing. So it's kind of a fine balance between the two. But I think between the retirees, they bring a knowledge, some old school knowledge, and some, you know, just some basic stuff that, you know, me coming up doesn't exactly have all the knowledge of. So we work well with each other. The technology part, that's, you know, that's one of those things that we kind of run a fine balance of, though.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, absolutely.
Next up is Morgan Allen to give us an overview of the Indiana Small Business Development Center. Morgan?
Perfect. Thank you, Lindsay. Can you see my presentation okay?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm getting some head shakes, so that's a good sign. As Lindsay mentioned, I mentioned earlier, my name is Morgan Allen. I am the Small Business Program Administrator for the Indiana Small Business Development Center, or SBDC. If you hear me refer to ISBDC, it is Indiana, although there are a few other ISBDCs, Iowa and Illinois out there. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, I just want to provide an overview of what an SBDC is. I think in government, there are a lot of acronyms flying around all the time, so let's get into what that actually means. So an SBDC is a cooperative agreement between the U.S. Small Business Administration, local universities, state and local governments, and then private sector organizations. We provide no-cost or low-cost confidential business advising, training, and technical assistance specifically for small businesses, which I'll get into what the definition of a small business is here in a minute. And there are 62 SBDC networks across the United States with over 1,000 offices nationwide. And why it's 62 instead of 50, there are some states like California and Texas that have multiple SBDCs. And then there are also SBDCs in like Puerto Rico, for example, which is why that number is a little higher than what you might expect. So the definition of a small business might not be what you think. I know a lot of people think of mom and pop shops on Main Street. And while we do love our mom and pop shops on Main Street, we can also think a little bit more broadly about what a small business is. So a small business is an entity that is in line with federal small business size standards, which if you have not looked up your size standards, you can go to sba.gov/size. SBA created a really user-friendly tool to help you identify whether your business is in line with federal size standards. You also have to be a for-profit business with any legal structure, and yes, that does include sole proprietorships. We get that question a lot. You have to be independently owned and operated, not nationally dominant, and then either physically located in or intend to physically locate in Indiana. And if you're outside of Indiana, the same thing would apply to whatever state SBDC you're interacting with. And Lindsay, I love seeing your cat come across the screen. If I was working from home, you'd see my dogs.
He's very needy right now.
Hey, that's okay. It makes it fun. So now that we know what an SBDC is and who we serve, I will throw a government mission statement at you. So the Indiana SBDC creates a positive and measurable impact on the formation, growth, and sustainability of Indiana small businesses by providing entrepreneurs with expert guidance and a comprehensive network of resources. And one thing I really want to hone in on there is that we help with formation, growth, and sustainability of Indiana small businesses. I think when a lot of people think of an SBDC, they tend to think that we only help people start businesses. But the mass majority of what we actually do is helping people manage them more long-term and make them sustainable for themselves and their family. So the Indiana SBDC has 10 regional offices across the state of Indiana. We do have 2 promise zones within Indiana, one based in Indianapolis and the other in Evansville. Those offices in particular have really, really great relationships with our boots on the ground folks for the promise zones. In most cases, that partnership forms in terms of referrals. So if our promise zone folks are working with a small business and they identify a need for one-on-one business advising, they will refer them to the SBDC for assistance. And then we also help provide feedback for our promise zone folks on their small business initiatives. So for example, I had a call with our Indianapolis promise zone people yesterday to discuss a COVID-19 initiative to help support small businesses. So that's really where that relationship comes in and how the Indiana SBDC and those 2 regional offices work with our promise zones. And depending on which state you are looking at, they will have different amounts of regional offices that are available to assist people. Like Illinois, for example, I believe has more than 10 regional offices, but some smaller states actually have less than us. It really just depends on what state you're looking at. So this is an overview of some of the core services that the SBDC provides. I won't read all of these, but just kind of overview strategic planning, market research, business planning, export assistance, and valuation. This is not inclusive. As I like to tell people, if the Indiana SBDC can't help you with something ourselves, we know of a resource partner that we can refer you to for help. So really whatever challenge our small business community is facing, we have business advisors that are available to help people, or we can loop people in like Nathan to help with marketing, or our PTAC folks to help with government contracting. We're really just there to meet the needs of our small businesses.
So Morgan, Melissa in the chat is asking, she wants to start a recycling business. Do you help businesses with getting their environmental permits? So based on what you're saying, it sounds like, yes, you would be able to help either direct her or, give her the coaching she needs to figure out what she needs to do.
Yeah, 100%. And, services will vary by SBDC office, I guess the level of service. But in the Indiana SBDC, how we would handle something like that is we don't claim to be environmental permitting experts, but what we can do is get you in touch with the state of Indiana employee that would help oversee that process, get some guidance on how you can apply for those licenses, and then our SBDC advisors can kind of walk you through that process. So again, we are not experts in everything, but generalists in everything, and can get you in contact with the appropriate people. So next, I want to provide a very high-level overview of our COVID-19 resources. I think this was a curveball for us all this year, so it wasn't in the 5-year strategic plan, but we are working through it and trying to help our small business community as much as we can. So first and foremost, I want to point to our COVID-19 resource page. Every SBDC in the US should have a COVID-19 resource page. I have just linked ours here. But it's a really, really great resource. It provides an overview of some of the programs that I'll tell you about, as well as some EIDL, PPP, some local program information to help businesses recover and survive COVID-19. So we also have some COVID-19 recovery programs. SBDCs received additional funding through the CARES Act to help support the recovery of small businesses in the US. So some of these programs is what we at the Indiana SBDC have chosen to fund with our CARES Act funding, but the specific programs that are available will vary depending on what state you're looking in. But high level overview, we have a partnership with Indiana Black Expo that's providing training to minority small business owners. We also have a statewide business resiliency and recovery training series that will run through March 31st, 2021. That is a webinar series, so if you are here today, you are able to register. You don't have to be in Indiana. We also have a partnership with the Indiana University Kelley School of Bloomington called Project Hope that provides a short-term digitization project for small businesses, and that has presented itself in most cases as to developing a website or a e-commerce platform to get small businesses online. We do have more programs in the pipeline, so stay tuned and be sure to check out our COVID-19 website for more information. But outside of the recovery programs that we have created, we also just have our kind of core business advising services that have shifted from how do I start a business to how do I, increase my resiliency and recover from COVID-19. So in a lot of cases, that has presented itself as helping people apply for EIDL or PPP forgiveness, and sitting down with a small business owner and walking through that application step by step to make sure that it's a competitive and appropriately submitted application. But we've also just been meeting with people and creating resiliency plans. So, what happens if in 6 months everything shuts down again? And talking through kind of what that would mean for their business and helping create financial forecasts to troubleshoot how they can adjust their business model to survive. So now I, of course, want to highlight a rock star client. I like to put our clients out there whenever I can. So what I'll be talking about today in particular is Sip and Share Wines. They are in a vegan winery based in Indianapolis, an absolute rock star client. So they actually started engaging with us last year during what we call a pop-up business school. So it was a 1-week intense business school training where we helped people make the first sale in their business. So Sip and Share Wines, Nicole Kearney participated in that, and she has stayed engaged with the SBDC, since participating in the pop-up business school. But in response to COVID-19, she was like, "Hey, my winery tasting room has closed. What do I do? That's a main source of revenue for me." So working with her business advisor, she helped create what they call SIP experiences. They are online virtual wine tastings, and they are phenomenal. It's highly recommend it if you have the opportunity. But through that, she's been able to host virtual wine tastings with her community and really, be there as a community resource for people and an opportunity to engage with each other when we all kind of feel so alone. And then after Nicole helped create some experiences, she was getting a lot of traffic to her website. It was like, "Oh my goodness, this is unprecedented. I haven't seen this before. Can you guys help?" So we were able to get Nicole in the Project Hope program that I discussed earlier with the IU Kelley School of Business. And through that, we were able to help redesign her website and create an e-commerce platform so she can make online sales now. And business has been booming for her. She's actually the 2020 Small Business of the Year for the Indiana Pacers, which, she's not going to Pacer games right now, but hopefully she'll be able to next year. But we've been really, really happy to work with Nicole and just always love the opportunity to help support our small businesses. So I'll wrap up here just to walk you through how do you work with an SBDC. So what you will do is you will connect with the appropriate regional office to assist you, or the state office. So if you are outside of Indiana, you'll go to that website I listed there to identify your SBDC contact in your state. If you are in Indiana, you're welcome to shoot me an email. I'll put up my contact information here in a minute, and I would get you in touch with our regional office that services your county. When you go to meet with a business advisor, you are asked to fill out a confidentiality agreement and form, and that just means, what you share with us is in confidence, and I can't, be working with Sip and Share Wines and then go to another winery and say, "Hey, I was working with Sip and Share and they said this." So it protects you, it protects us, and helps us provide the best service that we can. And then you're able to meet one-on-one with a business advisor. So most likely it will be via web conferencing. That's how we're doing things now. But from that initial session, you can meet as much or as little as you need and request deliverables to help your business start and grow. So that is a little bit about the Indiana SBDC. You are all welcome to shoot me an email if you have any questions, and I'll also take some questions here today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Morgan. Okay, we are running just a little behind schedule, so I'm going to try my best to catch us up and let you know, give you an update on where we're at with the SBA funding options. So some are closed, some are open. So hopefully I'll be able to, let you know what the latest and greatest is, but you can also go to sba.gov/coronavirus relief for the latest information, which could very likely change as Congress is working through the next stimulus. So at the Small Business Administration, we work with entrepreneurs and small businesses to help them start, grow, expand, and especially here lately, recover. So as a result of the CARES Act, SBA and the Department of Treasury implemented some temporary relief options for small business owners that had been in business prior to the pandemic. And those include the Paycheck Protection Program, which is currently closed, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance. So this was an advance on our longstanding economic injury disaster loans. The loans are still available. The advance grant funds ran out in July, but the loans themselves are still an option. And through September 27th, we have what we call our debt relief option, whereby SBA will pay 6 months of principal, interest, and fees on SBA-backed loans for 6 months. So that's a pretty big deal, but that window for that program is closing. And we've got our longstanding traditional SBA-based programs. Like I said, the disaster loans have been around for a long time. So, due to the nature of COVID, that was declared a disaster, and we have loan funding available through that. We have our traditional SBA-backed loans. Now, the lending environment has changed a little bit. It kind of just depends on your business and your industry and, a whole host of factors as in terms of whether or not your project might be able to obtain bank or credit union financing right now. I have been on some conferences here lately, and I hear a lot of lenders saying it's all projection based. So, do you have a solid business plan, and can you show that you are going to be generating revenue in order to pay the loan payments back? So that's something that our resource partners like Nathan at SCORE and Morgan and the business advisors at the SBDC can help with. Just a little bit of a deeper dive into these CARES Act temporary programs. So the Paycheck Protection Program, I'm not sure if that's going to come back or not. It kind of seems like we had $130 billion left over from the second round of PPP. But part of the reason for that is businesses were only allowed to take one shot at it. So as of right now, the program is closed, but could very possibly reopen. The latest iteration of the program, if you spent at least 60% of the loan proceeds on payroll, so that's wages and benefits, retirement, etc., and 40% on operational expenses like utilities and rent, then if you spent within the eligible categories, then that loan can be forgiven. So basically would turn into a grant that you wouldn't have to repay. So we did provide over 5 million PPP loans around the country, worth over $525 billion. We kind of got dinged in the media a little bit for having some of these larger companies come into the program, but I did want to point out that the average loan size was around $100,000. So that tells me that they really was going to these, traditionally, classically small businesses. We've also been getting dinged a bit on, providing this PPP funding, across demographic categories. So I just wanted to point out that I think over 75% of the PPP loans, the lender and borrower did not report their demographics. So it's an optional thing that we ask them to provide, race and gender and things of that nature. So if they don't provide that information, we can't report on it. So that's part of the problem. But again, just kind of, keep checking the SBA.gov website for the latest on PPP, whether or not that's going to come back around and whether or not businesses who already received a PPP loan will be able to come back for a second round. The loan advance grant I mentioned ran out of funding. We did provide almost 6 million idle advances, and we maxed out that cap at $20 million. But the loans themselves are still available. These are long-term, low-interest loans. So long-term, 30-year term, low interest, 3.75% interest for small businesses. And this is a working capital loan. So this is for your normal operating expenses that you are not able to pay right now because your revenues might be down compared to 2019. So it's not to acquire fixed assets like equipment. It's not to expand a facility. It's really just to help keep you going through this COVID situation. I already touched on the debt relief, but I think it's a great option. So I just want to mention it again. If you've got that business plan and those projections ready to go, you can talk to one of our private lending partners, so a bank or a credit union, for example, about getting an SBA-backed loan. And SBA can pay 6 months of principal interest on that loan for you. But that's only through September 27th. We have expanded some of our traditional SBA lending options, which I've kind of already gone through, but I will point out this last point here on the bottom left. Lender Match is a free online pairing portal. So SBA is not directly lending funds, except in the case of the disaster loans. You would actually get an SBA-backed loan through a private lending partner, and you can either reach out to one of those lenders that you might already have a relationship with, or you can use our free online pairing tool at SBA.gov called Lender Match. And I can't, thank our business advising partners enough. So SCORE and SBDC are our boots on the ground, like Nathan said, business counseling advisors. I myself am not a business advisor, so they really play a huge role, and SBA is happy to support them, supporting you, small businesses, through this COVID situation. So there's the link where you can find those business advisors in your area. And again, those are no cost services. And they will probably, have their ear to the ground, know what the other local funding options are outside of SBA, whether that's through like a local economic development office or municipal office, or private funding options, things like that. So definitely recommend starting that relationship. So this event is, kind of focused on those promise zone areas. And so I wanted to be sure to let you know about our microlending options and our community advantage loan options. So this funding is specifically designated for the underserved communities. So, maybe you weren't really that operational before the disaster. And so that would mean that it would make it hard to qualify for PPP or EIDL or something like that. So you could be a startup. You might not have the credit or the collateral or things of that nature to help you go to one of those banks or the credit unions for funding. So we work with nonprofit lenders to provide microloans up to $50,000, or what we call our community advantage loans up to $250,000. And if you're a woman, if you're a minority, if you're a veteran, if you're in a low-income area, this is this is for you. So if this sounds like you, I would definitely recommend, using that online lender match pairing portal, or reaching out to me later to get connected to these microlending partners. And, even these microlending options sometimes might have a credit requirement. So there are other things that they can help you with. There are credit building programs that they can get you connected to. And I just can't say enough how important our resource partners, how important of a role they play in helping you, kind of walk through these steps to finding funding. And if you've been rocking and rolling for a while, I also wanted to put in a plug for our Emerging Leaders program. So this is kind of what we call our mini MBA program. It's free, although it is kind of a time investment on the business owner's part. So if you have been rocking and rolling and you've got revenues of at least $250K, but you could really benefit from some, small group technical assistance and networking, have all these experts focused on you and your business. So we say that we help you work on your business, not just in your business. Then this program is for you. And so I would definitely encourage you to consider this option. I did want to touch on the contracting here shortly, and then I will be finished. But at SBA, we provide contracting certification programs to help small businesses in certain economic and socio-economic categories compete for federal contracts. So our 8A program is for socially and economically disadvantaged small businesses. So think minority, women, LGBT, things of that nature. As well as our women-owned small business program and our hub zone program for businesses that are located in historically underutilized business zones. So there's huge overlap between the promise zones and the hub zone designations. As well as service disabled veterans. If you are kind of in one of these categories and you have a product or a service that a large organization such as the federal government might be interested in purchasing, these certifications are designed to help kind of give you a bit of a leg up and help you be successful in competing for those contracts. So I've got my friend Jim on the line here who's gonna touch more on this later, but because of COVID, we have made it a lot more flexible for businesses with those certifications or working on those certifications to help make it easier for them to maintain their status during COVID. And there are still contracting opportunities out there, especially as they relate to COVID. But there are some steps that you need to go through in order to sell to the federal government. So I don't want to steal Jim's thunder, so I will stop there. But we also have procurement center representatives at SBA. So if you've already got a contract in place and you need assistance, we can help you. This is how you can keep in touch with SBA, whether you're in Indiana or in another location. You can find your local SBA district office at sba.gov/local. Sign up for our newsletters, follow us on social media. There's the link there to find our fabulous resource partners, and stay tuned for the PPP funding or whatever may be next. At sba.gov/coronavirus relief. So here is my contact information. Wherever you are in the country, I'd be happy to help assist you or help you get connected to the SBA office that can best assist you. Okay, so I will go ahead and stop. Did we get Jim back on the line?
We did, but real quick, if Julius, are you able to make Jim a co-host in case he has a presentation so he can share his screen?
All right, Jim, you have co-hosting authority again.
And Jim, we are running a little short on time, so give us a Reader's Digest version if you would.
I sure will. Mine's short anyway, and they're not kidding when they say this is a performing art because I have an unstable internet connection and it doesn't seem to be working very well. Can you hear me?
Yes, Jim.
Okay, well, there it is. Good. Okay, so I'm Jim Haddon with the Indiana Procurement Technical Assistance Center. PTACs are available in every state, 93 PTACs. We provide counseling for government contracting. We also have a free bid matching service. We can assist with proposal preparation, networking. We used to do in-person workshops, but now they're virtual, and we don't charge anything. There's no cost to our services. Why would one want to contract with the federal government? Because the federal government does almost $600 billion in contracting every year in 2019. The payments are reliable. We have different types of contracts, and they buy everything. Which doesn't seem to be clicking to the next show. But anyway, the federal government has goals for small businesses. Federal government goal for small businesses, 23%. For disadvantaged businesses, 5%. Women-owned small businesses, 3%. And HUD zone businesses, 3%. I'm going to try to click through this. If not, I'll go ahead and do it extemporaneously based on my memory. If one is a women-owned small business or a economic disadvantaged small business, the certification process is changing. It's going from self-certification to SBA certification. In order to do government contracting, one has to be registered with the System for Award Management. You have to have a NICS code, and the NICS codes are changing, moving forward to something called a Unique Entity Identifier, and that will occur on December 20th or to be announced. Those businesses who are in promise zones, there are many small businesses that are women-owned small business, veteran-owned small business, minority-owned small business. They would be interested in getting the certification because the certification opens up doors. It helps qualify their business for subcontracting opportunities. MBEs and WBEs can do business with casinos and universities. They have their goals. And also there are set-asides in certain government programs for 8A, HUD zone, women-owned small business, disadvantaged women-owned small business. So I'm going to leave it there and open it for questions since my PowerPoint doesn't seem to be advancing, and I'll go from there.
Jim, I took over and was trying to go through the slides as you were talking there. So here we've got the IEDC slide and your contact information so that hopefully everyone can see that.
Okay.
So we are running a little short on time. We have a couple of dialogue questions prepared as it relates to resiliency and recovery, but we would love to hear from the audience what you would like to know from the business counselors. So if you have questions that are on your mind regarding your business operations, please let us know that in the chat, and Colin will help us field those. So let me go back here.
Lindsay, we did just get an audience question that came in.
Okay. You want to go ahead and read that, Morgan, while I'm working on pulling up something here?
Yeah, absolutely. So from Danielle, a question in terms of resiliency for small business, for the business advisors here. Have you had any discussions with business owners on the impacts from the coming cold weather and snow and limited outdoor space use as a result? Nathan, maybe you can touch on that to start.
Well, I think it's here in Evansville. It's made a big difference on a lot of things. I think from the outside perspective, I mean, some people are trying to move stuff outside a little bit more. In fact, I actually run a music festival, which we had to cancel because of just safety concerns. And here in Evansville, we also have the Fall Festival, which is the second largest street festival. That's basically a fundraiser for nonprofits. It's the second largest street festival in the country, and that had to be canceled. And so it's a tough situation. And I have a feeling that, as the winter months go along and people tend to get more sick during those times, it's going to be an even greater concern. So, who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff has kind of tried to, move it outside or move it, people work from home or Zoom meetings and trying to do all that stuff. I hope that answered the question a little bit. I only kind of know it from my perspective on how it's affected some of the stuff that I've been a part of.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Nathan, one thing the Indiana SPDC has been doing is meeting with small business owners and creating a financial forecast and resiliency plans based on, what the next 6 months could look like. I wish we had a crystal ball of, okay, on this date, this is going to happen, but we just don't. So What we're doing is just helping small business owners create multiple plans for how they could tackle different scenarios so that they feel prepared when things happen. And I think especially with the coming cold weather, helping people figure out whether it's financially feasible to have their restaurant open at 50% capacity. That's been a question that we've been receiving a lot, and what we're doing is just helping people plan for any scenario that they could face.
And along those same lines, though, it's been a mixed reception. We have a lot of restaurants that have closed down, that only do carry out and outdoor seating. Some will still have in-person seating, but then we've had a lot of transparency. Just today, one restaurant here in town announced that one of their staff members had COVID, so they're going to close down for a few days, and everybody's going to do the tests. So I think it's all about a responsibility level and a comfort level, and what everybody feels comfortable with. And it's got to be a hard decision. I mean, it's hard decisions all the way around, because I'm friends with so many of these business owners, and you can just tell that they're hurting, and especially the small business owners, that they're, it's like some of them aren't going to make it through this. I mean, let's just be honest. It's just hard, and it's sad, but it's the situation that we're in.
So what are some of the other themes that you and the business advisors and mentors and counselors have seen popping up? We know there are a multitude of ways that businesses can operate, and there's not a cookie cutter response, but are there themes or common questions you see coming in?
For us, it's been a lot of how can I get my business online? How can I make online sales? And I'll be honest, for business advisors, it was a little bit of a learning curve as well. It wasn't something that had been a primary counseling area for us before, but I think e-commerce especially has been a topic that has drastically increased, along with EIDL, PPP, kind of the basic stuff that you would expect.
I agree with Morgan completely. I mean, in fact, I've had to do that in my own house, where, my girlfriend was a yoga instructor, and she also runs the farmer's market here in town, which she can do by following, the CDC guidelines and Purdue Extension guidelines. But, as far as yoga and some of her other stuff, meditation stuff, she's done it all through Zoom and really transitioned over to where she enjoys it a lot better. And she's able to connect with more people across the country instead of just the local thing. So I think, it's just how comfortable people are with the technology, and whether they feel comfortable about moving over. But that's their decision. I just know that it's even affected my own household, so we've been dealing with it.
And Nathan, I think you'll agree, pivoting a business model is something that I think we're going to continue to get questions about for the coming year, 2 years. How to increase business resiliency by shifting your business model, whether that be if you're a restaurant, offering carry out and delivery, or if you're a winery offering virtual wine tastings. I think that's going to be a continued theme that we see in our advising.
Well, I think with almost every client that I deal with, there's some aspect of that right now. So you're absolutely right. And I think I think this is going to change everything. I mean, everybody says, well, this is the new normal. I mean, in some ways, yeah. I mean, we are going to pivot in some ways to a different way of doing things. And so it's try to stay ahead of it and just roll with it and change this day by day, it seems like.
Jim, how about on the contracting side? What are you seeing as a procurement specialist who's advising businesses on selling to the government? Are there still opportunities? What are the challenges? Anything you want to touch on there?
Lindsay, it looks like he dropped off. Oh, and there, but he's back.
Okay.
I can unmute him.
And Jim, if you're there, you're on mute.
I'm back.
Poor Jim. He's having a rough internet connection today.
I've toggled back and forth between two Wi-Fis at the chamber, and neither one of them are very consistent, so I apologize.
No problem. Just the question was, and we've only got a couple minutes left, but what are you seeing on the contracting side in terms of challenges and opportunities?
The federal government, the last 3 years, has increased significantly as far as contracting dollars. However, local government and universities
Oh. Jim, I'm not sure if it's just me, but looks like you're breaking up.
being hit hard.
Not just you.
Universities,
Broke up for me too.
Universities. I'm sorry. Municipal and universities are not doing very well. Federal government is very strong.
So what would you say to the Promise Zone businesses in terms of what opportunities they might be able to take advantage of when it comes to contracting?
First, I would say if you are eligible, get a certification up where the contracting opportunities are less competitive, and there are set-asides. Look at federal contracting or subcontracting, and networking and personal relationships are everything.
And that's something that PTAC can kind of help guide and assist with, right?
Yes, we help with networking, market research, personal contacts, all of those.
Great. Julius, do we have time for one more panel question? Or Colin?
Yeah, we are at our scheduled time, but I think it would be okay if we did one last question.
Okay, just whatever comes to the top of your head for you counselors and mentors, what do you think is coming next for our small business and entrepreneur community? Morgan kind of touched on this, but anything that you would like to say there?
I mean, let's face reality. I think a lot of it depends on what happens in November and what direction we go from there. And so, that's the big unknown along with the pandemic. And so everybody's kind of in this, you don't know what's going to happen phase. And hopefully they come back with another relief package and stuff like that. But, there are a lot of people hurting. And, there's a lot of small businesses hurting. From my end, there's a lot of people that are, about to be evicted and all that kind of stuff. So, it's just a scary time for everybody, but we'll get through this together. So that's my only advice.
And Lindsay, as I alluded to earlier, we don't have a crystal ball of what the next 6 months is going to look like. But if you haven't already gotten in contact with your local SBDC or your SCORE mentor or your PTAC representative, do so. We are no-cost resources here to help you. You know, we don't have that crystal ball, but hopefully we can help prepare you for whatever is to come. And I think the next season is just going to be defined by continuing to be flexible and continuing to adapt by, you know, whatever is in the pipeline. And we are a resource to help you do that.
Okay, I don't see any questions in the chat box, so I'll kick it back to Colin.
Yeah. Thank you to the panel so much, Lindsay, for doing a lot of that moderating and as well. And sorry to Jim that we had all those Wi-Fi issues, but such is life these days. And I think with that, I'll give it back to Julius, but thank you everyone for attending.
All right. Thank you, Colin, for passing it back to me. Definitely want to thank everyone for joining us, all of our participants. I hope that the information you received was valuable. I want to encourage you to attend more of the presentations, but I know that if you're here, you're already aware that there's other presentations. But if you found this useful, please share out to your networks and all of your other contacts. Let them know that the National Coalition of Promise Zones 2020 Federal Convening is still underway, and there's going to be an array of great topics that will be shared in the remaining presentations. But more importantly, right now at the moment, I want to thank Colin for being our moderator today. We really appreciate you, Colin. And definitely want to thank our awesome panel for providing such great and valuable information. We know that the things can look a bit bleak and a little scary right now, but I think we want to all try to remain hopeful. And I think the information presented can provide some hope for small businesses. So thank you so much to Lindsay, Nathan, Morgan, and Jim. And on the behalf of the National Coalition of Promise Zones, I want to really say thank you from the bottom of my heart. All right. I appreciate you. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will
Thank
be,
you, Julius.
Thank you so much. We'll be sending out information in regards to the PowerPoint slides and et cetera for anyone who may want that. Also, you can view the video of the presentation if there's some information that you missed on the Sacramento Promise Zone Facebook page, and it also may have been reshared on the National Coalition of Promise Zones Facebook page as well. And if you need it, if you don't have access to Facebook and you needed to view the video, we'll also be providing some opportunities for that in the near future as well. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.